This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hello, Team PYP. Mary Lou Kaiser here. Welcome to today's episode of the Play Your Position podcast. Today's episode is what I call an Audible. If you are new here, every now and then I like to disrupt my flow of amazing conversations with leaders from all over the world doing incredible work with a self-reflection about a topic that has value to all of us who are out there playing our positions in our work. And many of you are running your own show, and there are also many of you who are working for someone else. And there's value in what I'm about to share for anybody who is in business, because at the end of the day, business is about increasing awareness of what we do, who we are, what our brand is about, what our products and services can do for others. And I recently had the opportunity to attend the Pacific Northwest Booksellers Association trade show in Portland, Oregon, to introduce bookstore owners to my latest book, The Far Unlit Unknown. I've talked a little bit about The Far Unlit Unknown on this podcast, and I promise in a future episode I will go into more depth about it, about why I wrote it, and the value that it has to readers and also to organizations. But today I want to focus on the benefits of attending a trade show as a vendor, and specifically share with you 5 unconventional tips for success as a vendor at a trade show. So if you are ready for this, team, let's kick it off and get into the game. Trade show success or failure for business of all sizes is real. I have experienced both sides of the coin. I've had some great trade shows as a vendor and also as an attendee, and I've also had a couple of real miserable, horrible experiences. For many businesses, including the business of writing and publishing, trade shows are an integral part of their marketing puzzle. By their nature, they can be hit or miss. Like I just said, I've experienced both, and the misses are worse than a bad night's sleep, or even worse than that, a bad week's sleep. Thankfully, the Pacific Northwest Booksellers Association 2023 trade show was a hit, and I think for anybody who is considering doing a trade show as a vendor, these tips are worth their weight in gold, because when you are a vendor at a trade show, you might be there for one full day, you might be there for 2 or 3 days. You're going to be on your feet, usually on a concrete floor. If you're lucky, you've got a carpet over that concrete floor, or sometimes companies will provide their vendors with those padded standing mats that can really help relieve the pressure that standing on concrete and engaging with strangers for 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 hours a day can take on your body. I was wearing my cushy and very stylish Adidas sneakers, and by hour 4, I was dying. It was so much, I'm not used to standing for 8 hours, let alone on concrete. And I'll spare you the gruesome details of how I felt after I got home, but all I can say is yay for Advil. But despite the physical toll attending a trade show takes on your body, it really is a powerful part of your business model when it's done right. So let me share with you these tips, because there's plenty of blog posts and probably some podcasts dedicated solely to trade shows. I like to look at the tips that are not as obvious and these tips I'm about to share are in no particular order, and I share them again because I know from experience and also from conversations I've had with other business owners that trade shows, now that we're in a post-pandemic world, are becoming more and more of a marketing piece of businesses' approach to getting the word out about their services and or their products. So let's start with tip number 1. Lighting in hotel ballrooms sucks. And you are planning to take photos, right? You are planning to take photos and post them somewhere online as part of your branding and marketing strategy. Yes, of course you are, because that's what we do today. Everything is social. You are participating. Therefore, with bad ballroom lighting, practically a given, your selfies and your photos are going to make everybody look like Halloween night gone really, really wrong. So you want to pay attention to the lighting. Now, some exhibition halls have windows with natural light, and that's ideal. If possible, snap a few selfies or group photos facing the window. Don't have the window behind you. This is a huge no-no, and I see so many people on the socials posting really what could have been wonderful shots, and they think, oh, the window is great because it has this view. And if you know anything about photography, you want the light illuminating the faces, not behind the faces, right? Now, there are some trade show spaces that are windowless. So you can take photos with the flash on, and every camera on smartphones today has a built-in flash that you can trigger. You want to get away, as far away as you possibly can, from what I call that harsh prison cell lighting overhead. Try to find a place where you're not just directly under it. And the other thing you can do is you can do what a woman I recently met at a fundraiser does. She carries a small ring light in her purse that clips onto her iPhone. And she loaned it to me when I was taking a selfie of me and my good friend. And I have pictures of that I took prior to using the ring light and pictures that I took after using the ring light. And it was phenomenal, the difference. Less than $10, guys, on Amazon. You can instantly create studio lighting that makes everyone look amazing. So yes, I immediately went to Amazon and ordered myself one of these. It's super light, it's rechargeable, and it makes such a difference. And again, we are living in a photo forward world. And as a leader in your business, you are going to be snapping selfies here and there and then posting them on your favorite social channel. And you want that lighting to look good, because what you look like in your photos is representing you and your brand. Again, whether you work for yourself or for somebody else, you still want to pay attention to the lighting. So that's tip number 1. It's a given that lighting in hotel ballroom sucks. Do something. Think about where you're going to take photos so that they look really great, and you don't have to spend a ton of time in Photoshop editing them. That's the other piece, is if you can get them as great as possible from the outset, you save yourself time. All right, here's success tip number 2. Don't forget to bring business cards. Now, yes, other posts and other people talk about this, but guys, I was so surprised and actually shocked at how many business owners did not think to bring business cards with them. I engaged with conversation, and at the end I say, oh, do you have a business card? I'd love to follow up. And oh, I didn't think I would need them. Or a couple of people even said, I don't even have business cards. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I guess in a way, because everything is digital today, we have moved away from the physical, but a lot of people still value that tiny card that has contact information on it. Now, if you don't want cards, have a bookmark made up, or a postcard, or some scrap paper with ink scribbled on it with your information. I mean, anything you can exchange with a person, especially at a trade show, because again, you're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to want to follow up with some of those people. And there's no way, no matter how much Prevagen that you take for better memory or whatever supplement you're taking for brain health, you're never going to remember everybody's names, faces, where they work, what you talked about. Part of being successful at a trade show or any kind of networking event is actively engaging with each person you meet making little notes to yourself. You can also take a picture with your phone of them wearing their trade show badge. Most trade shows will have people wearing badges, especially when it's a trade show that the whole intent is for vendors to meet buyers. The badges is going to have their badge will have their name, their company, and usually where they're located. You can then follow up with them first on LinkedIn, and then if you are going to send them a physical product, you can find their address on a Google search. Very, very easy. And a piece that once you get into the habit is just second nature. And then you've got a face, you've got a badge with information on it. It's great. And remember, Jim Rohn loved to hammer into everybody's heads, whoever he talked to, was the fortune is in the follow-up. And if you're at a trade show marketing your business or product, you want to follow up. Stack the odds of raking in some cash by taking photos of interested parties, even in addition to getting their business card. I've found that having a face to look back on and go, oh yeah, it was that woman or that man, and oh, we talked about this. It's really, really helpful. All right, so that is trade show success tip number 2. On to number 3. This may come as a shock, so prepare yourself. It's not all about you. The trade show is not all about you as much as any of us would want it to be. It is not. It is about the attendees. It is about the people you are meeting. What are they looking for? Why are they at the show? Spend a little time engaging in general and natural conversation. Ask the people who stop by your booth or table questions about them versus doing what I have witnessed a lot of trade show people doing, was somebody comes into their booth and it is verbal diarrhea to the max about the product, about the service the second the person enters the booth, and nobody wins with that. The person who's doing the talking thinks, oh, I'm doing something, but my experience has been people are so turned off when they're approached by somebody who's trying to pitch them something. Start off by asking questions. Find out why people have taken precious time from their busy lives to attend the trade show in the first place. If you're like me at the one I was just at, I was meeting buyers. Now, buyers at trade shows are looking for stuff to sell back home. They know their audience. They know what they're looking for. Find out if there's even a fit for your product before you start talking about it. You can ask questions like, what brought you here today? What's exciting about what you're doing in your business right now? And as a side note, that second question, that's a great question at any kind of networking event. What's exciting about what you're doing in your business right now? It gets people talking about themselves, and that's our favorite subject. So get them talking, and then if there's a natural point where you can work what you have to offer into the conversation, then you can ask them permission to share your product or service with them. For example, may I tell you about X, Y, or Z? In my case, I asked if I could show them a copy of my poetry book. And you know what's awesome? Not one person said no to looking at the book. Not one. They all picked it up, flipped through it, complimented me on it, asked me questions about it, and I was able to deepen the conversation and the relationship so that when I do follow up, they are more likely to remember me and my book. Now, whether or not they decide to include my book in their store or bring me in for a reading and a signing has yet to be seen. Again, it's part of my job to find out when I follow up. And I can't emphasize that enough. So many people expend an enormous amount of time, energy, resources into being a vendor at a trade show, and they never follow up. They never follow up with any of the people they met, which is downright criminal because there is no business without following up. All right, so that's tip number 3. It's not all about any of us. It's about the people we are trying to serve. Tip number 4, don't be afraid to leave your booth. Walk around, talk to other vendors, ask them how the show is going for them. You can learn a lot from talking to the other vendors. Are they glad they paid good money to attend? Was it worth their time? Was it worth their resources? What they tell you gives you some good intel about the success of the show. Has it been a good investment overall? Has there been traffic to every booth? If you hear a significant amount of grumbling from enough vendors, or if you're not getting the traffic that you expected, chances are good the show isn't managed well. It has nothing to do with your product or your service, but instead the way the show was handled. That can be the reason for a low return on investment. And again, nothing is ever guaranteed in life except death and taxes, but you can save yourself heartache in the future if you spend a little time interacting with other vendors at the different trade shows that you attend, because they're going to tell it to you straight. There's not going to be any sugarcoating. Was it good for them or not? And then you can use your experience along with theirs to decide about future events. And finally, trade show success tip number 5, bring your own snacks and water. This was my mistake, and I paid a price for it. Literally, I had to go buy things, which is always more expensive than if you bring it from home. I also picked up a really cool little insider trick from a fellow vendor. She said, do you know that payday bars have 10 grams of protein? So if you're looking for something tasty, salty, and sweet, and you don't have a peanut allergy, all right, and you're looking for something with a decent shot of protein, and you don't want a granola bar because they can be so dry and just so uninteresting, or you're not into the protein bars because so many of them, it's like gnawing on a brick, and you happen to like your teeth. I mean, I like my teeth. Put a couple of payday bars in your bag. You're good to go. All right. I really liked that tip. And hydration is a given. Hydration is a given no matter what you're doing. You should be drinking water all the time. Trade shows especially take a lot of energy. You're talking, you're listening. You've got to stay hydrated. We need water, plain, clean water, to keep our brains alert and on point. Skip the diet soda. Keep a water bottle or 3 handy. And I say take a drink every 15 minutes. Being hydrated also helps with recovery later. And as I mentioned earlier, after standing on your feet for 6, 8, 10 hours on the concrete, you're going to feel that trade show later. Staying hydrated throughout the day will help ease some of those post-trade show symptoms. All right, so that was tip number 5. And I have a bonus trade show success tip that I want to share with you. And it will sound a little bit repetitive, but I'm going to extend on what I said. It has to do with follow-up again. All right, I'm emphasizing follow-up because as a leader in your life, as a leader in your business, as a leader at your company, if you are employed with somebody, following up in general is an important skill to develop. But especially if you promised to send a sample of your product to someone that you met at your trade show, you want to do it and include a handwritten note with a detail about something they said to you, something you talked about. Make your follow-up about the relationship, not just the transaction. 9 out of 10 salespeople don't do this. You will stand out if you do, and your business will grow like beautiful wildflowers if you take the time to invest in a strong follow-up. And I ask myself this, and I ask others too, what is the point of attending a trade show as a vendor if you aren't specifically there to grow your business? So these tips, I'll repeat them really quickly. you've got to be thinking about as someone who's marketing your business and using trade shows as one venue for building awareness for who you are, what you do, what you stand for, why your product matters, why people would want your product either in their hands personally or, in my case, bookstores. Okay. Lighting in hotel ballrooms sucks. So have a strategy for the photos you are going to take and post as part of your marketing as well. Number 2, don't forget to bring business cards or a postcard or a bookmark or something you can hand out in exchange for someone else's information. Number 3, it's not all about you. It's about who you're talking to. Always, always, always. Number 4, don't be afraid to leave your booth. Walk around, talk to other vendors, get the intel that can help you down the road. And number 5, bring your own snacks and water. You will not regret having those right there, easy to grab. And last but not least, follow up, build the relationship, go the extra mile, do something special, and definitely don't break promises you made to people. If you said, I'm going to send you a copy of my book, send them a copy of your book with a handwritten note. If you said you were going to send them a packet of information, send them the packet of information. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it's more work, but this is all part of your business. And if you have a team, delegate. Have your executive assistant take care of correspondence. It's so worth it. And trade shows are coming back. Definitely, I saw that. I was very pleased with the PMBA 2023 in Portland. I felt the attendance was great. The other vendors had a good experience. I had a great experience. I met a lot of potential, business people who can help not only me, but other authors get our books out into the world in front of readers. And in turn, I can bring value to their business by promoting them, talking about their independent bookstore, and then as far as book signings and readings, bringing people in to the store for those events. And that's a topic for another day. But today, team, I hope that these tips had value for you. And if being a vendor at a trade show isn't your thing, but you listened anyway, perhaps these tips can apply to other parts of your life. I really work hard to bring universal content to this podcast through my own reflections like today, when I call an Audible, and also through my conversations with leaders who have said yes to living a bigger life, putting themselves out there, taking some risks, being willing to deal with the bruises and the punch downs and the muddy field, right? And the less than perfect conditions. There never is a perfect time to get out there and play your position, which is why you got to do it every day. So with that, I'm going to wish you a fabulous day. And just as a quick reminder, I've got some more great conversations coming up. I'm about ready to launch my 500th episode. That's right, 500 episode that will come later this fall. You definitely want to check that out. I've got a very, very special guest lined up who you will absolutely love. Some of you may already know this person, but that is coming. And if you haven't grabbed your copy of my latest book, The Far Unlit Unknown, you can find it on my website, maryloukaser.com. And there are several different options for buying it. I know not everybody likes to support the big guy in the room, and you might be more interested in a smaller independent bookstore. And those options are certainly there for you. So yeah, get yourself a copy of The Far Unlit Unknown. Maybe get a couple of copies and send one out to someone who is struggling with perhaps some grief or has recently experienced a move of some kind, whether a new job or the loss of a job or moving to a different state. There's some wonderful, wonderful content in that book that readers consistently tell me has just made a huge difference to them. And it's comforting, it's intriguing, it's thought-provoking, and it's beautiful. So thanks so much for listening, Team PYP. Look forward to catching you next time. Get out there and make it a great day. Bye for now.
Here at the Play Your Position podcast, we believe that the road to self-mastery and a life well lived starts with answering the call to leadership. That's when the fun really begins. Send this episode to any friends who might need to hear the inspiration and ideas you heard today. And feel free to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform.